Hey guys, Justin here from Arcdyn Security, here with a quick overview video of our new version 4 firmware. This is an overview of the HDMI output menu. We'll do a separate video for the web interface and the desktop software. So here you see the grid view, and right off the bat you'll notice some slight interface changes. When you right click, instead of that drop down menu that you typically get, you'll see a new red bar menu and a list of your channels off to the left here. In the bottom right is where you'll find the menu options for changing to different screens. This particular NVR I only have 8 cameras on. It is a 16 channel. They've added the ability to change your menu output from your HDMI to your VGA or the auxiliary port here right in the live view screen, which is convenient. And then your typical split views, auto switch for the different pages, and then your continuous or motion record options. Up in the top right, you'll have download statistics for if you're currently downloading clips or anything like that. Alarm or event notifications. In this case, I've got motion, and under the basic event here, and then smart, you'll see all your intrusions and the other events that you have configured. And here you can filter those out. Here is the backup status, and we'll get into where to configure that later, and then obviously your power off. To access the menu, and basically the options that would have previously existed in that right-click drop-down menu, you'll hit the home button here in the top left. This pulls down a menu and gives you kind of the same familiar options as the previous firmware. Obviously, live view will take you right back to that live view screen. Then you have your playback. This should look fairly familiar. Some of the stuff might be rearranged, but you have your camera selection, date selection, timeline here on the bottom, and then the ability to adjust the timeline from 5 minutes all the way up to a full day. Under File Management, you'll find a new menu which allows you to search through the actual raw files on the hard drive, or the pictures that are saved on the hard drive. You can sort through these by event type. You can see all those listed here. Some of these more specific events only work with specific cameras that are capable of those events, like the LPR or people gathering, stuff like that. That's only on some of the higher end smart cameras. But you do have also your motion, line crossing, intrusion, stuff like that. That should be on all cameras. On the left, you'll see human and vehicle. This is with our new intelligent detection cameras. You'll be able to search through those events as well. SBART analysis is once again with the specific cameras that support that, either the people counting camera or the heat map, which is our fisheye 12 megapixel camera. Next up, you have your camera menu. This has had a pretty good overhaul. Under the IP camera menu here, you'll see that you now have some nice previews that give you a really quick way of identifying which camera is which, especially if they're all defaulted and say camera number 1 for all of them before you name them. Under PoE settings, this is where you'll find your PoE extension feature. This allows you to push PoE out past that 100-meter limit. Depending on whether you're using Cat 5 or Cat 6, that distance can vary. but it might be nice for some of those longer runs if you don't want to have to put a repeater or a power injector on the other end. PoE bonding configuration essentially allows you to turn on and off the PoE power on a specific port. That's nice if you need to reboot or disconnect a specific camera and don't want to reboot the entire unit. And then you have your display, privacy mask, and video parameters menus. This should all look fairly similar to what you saw in the last firmwares. Next, you have the storage menu. This should look familiar to the last firmware as well. They have added some repair options for trying to save some of those failing or failed hard drives. You can change your storage mode. And then they've also added an auto backup feature to an eSATA drive, which is really nice for some redundancy. Under System General, you're going to see a couple of new options. You've got your HDMI resolution and VGA resolution, which is handy for if you're hooked into a 4K TV or something like that, to be able to display the high resolution image from the camera. And then the schedule reboot is a new feature, which is really nice for making sure you kind of knock all the cobwebs out every once in a while. And you can do that either at a specific date or by day of the week. Same options here as last firmware. Same with the network. This should all look fairly familiar. Under platform access, you now have a nice little QR code to download the app. And then you also have an unbind button, which is new, which allows you, if you're sitting in front of a unit and you don't know what Guardian Vision account that unit is bound to, you can unbind it here. Under event, you have your typical motion video tampering exception. And then under smart event, you'll have your line crossing intrusion, and this should all look fairly familiar. The live view menu gives you the option to change the video output interface. These are the same options pretty much that are present on the live view menu. The view menu, you can set your grid, what cameras go where by default, different options for autoplay. And then you also have the ability to set a custom layout, which is a new feature. Maintenance is going to be fairly familiar. It's basically just a great place to go and find more information on the system, some diagnostics and stuff like that. Probably the biggest upgrades or new features you're going to see are going to be under the System Services menu. Under here, you're going to see the ability to change your RTSP and HTTP authentication type. This is present in the web, but it's nice to know where it is here on the HDMI menu. OnVIF, if you're using OnVIF cameras, you'll have to enable it here and create a user for the OnVIF cameras to use. And then under more settings, you'll see that we now support iView Now UPnP reporting. This is for their monitoring and alarm verification services. And then there's Control 4, where you can enable SDDP for automatic discovering on the Control 4 network. So that's been a quick overview of our new firmware. If you have any questions at all or would like to have a more in-depth demo of the features, please feel free to reach out to us either at support@arcdyn.com or give us a call at 855-272-6682. Thanks a lot.